Hey, this is Warren Redlick. You know I'm an Elon Musk nerd, so I got to do something about this. We've got media criticism of Elon Musk and Tesla. We've got criticism from the New York Times. We've got criticism from Reuters and Hilary Kramer. Who is she? We're going to talk about that. Are you ready? Let's go. So what got me going today was this Hilary Kramer here gave a 45-second or so rant that Reuters for some reason carried. Hilary Kramer is a nobody. I'm going to show you who she is. I'm going to show you her rant. This is a nobody, knows nothing about Tesla, no idea why anybody would pay any attention to what she says. But Reuters gives her a platform, and listen to what she says.
It's over for Tesla. It's done. I read that a Tesla owner, a long-term Tesla owner, burned his car because he was so upset about the cost and the cost for new parts and the lack of maintenance available that used to be there. And I know why. The best people from Tesla have been hired at BMW. They're at Porsche. They're at Mercedes. They're at Toyota. And they're at Ford. And they're at General Motors. And Elon Musk, who I respect and love, he let them go. He didn't get it that every single aspect of having a Tesla means you have to have the right technology, not just the right story.
Okay, so let's dissect this baloney argument bit by bit. Let's take it piece by piece, starting here.
It's over for Tesla. It's done. I read that a Tesla owner, a long-term Tesla owner, burned his car because he was so upset about the cost and the cost for new parts and the lack of maintenance available that used to be there.
Let's think about that for a second. Tesla's over $1 trillion company that just produced 500,000 cars last year and looks like they're on pace to produce 900,000 cars this year, that has an order backlog 6 months to a year, depending on which vehicle you're talking about, is over because one nut job burned his car. This is the argument. One nut job burned his car, and somehow this is evidence that Tesla's over. This is total baloney. And, you know, this is the interesting question here. First of all, who the hell is she, and why the hell is Reuters carrying this? They're carrying it because this is what happens with the media today. This is an outlandish statement. This woman is speaking off the cuff, random nonsense. I've seen her once before trashing Tesla. She claims later she loves Elon. No, you don't. You love attention. You love attention. You love getting attention. You know, getting attention gets you more FaceTime, whatever. I don't know what the hell the reason is, but this doesn't make any sense. There's 500,000 people bought Teslas last year. 900,000 bought Teslas this year. There's a backlog of orders. And you go with one lunatic who burns his car because he's mad about something, and you think that tells you something meaningful? That's not that. That's like an anecdote. This is a critical thing in our society today. Is there are anecdotes, individual stories that somebody tells, and there's data, there's statistics. You got 900,000 people buying Teslas this year versus one lunatic who burns his car, and you're placing the one lunatic who burns his car over the 900,000 happy customers and the 2 million that are coming next year. This is total nonsense. But let's go on.
The best people from Tesla have been hired at BMW. They're at Porsche. They're at Mercedes. They're at Toyota. And they're at Ford. And they're at General Motors. And Elon Musk, who I respect and love, he let them go.
What the hell is she talking about? Who left Tesla and went to all these companies? Tesla is the number one company that college students want to go work for, that college engineering students want to go work for. I went, the best people at Tesla, I mean, Drew Baglino's still there. I met him, I talked to him. Franz von Holzhausen's still there. I met him, I talked to him. There's lots of great people at Tesla. They're working their asses off. They're producing great products. And what does that have to do with some lunatic in, I forget where, Norway or Sweden or wherever the hell this guy is, who burns his car because he feels like he's not getting good customer service? What does that have to do with the supposedly best people leaving Tesla? Who are these best people? What did they do? Did they work on customer service in the area where this asshole had his car problem? Wait, the connection isn't there. It's number one, it's stupid that you're going with one story and that's a justification for Tesla's over. And number two, you're connecting it to some bullshit story that people are leaving Tesla. I haven't heard. I mean, of course, some people leave Tesla. You know, you're going to have turnover in any company, and Tesla does work people hard, and some people get spit out. Some people can't take it. That's true. But Tesla's been growing the number of employees pretty dramatically. If there was a brain drain, I think they called this a brain drain. If there was a brain drain from Tesla, why did they keep growing? This is just so stupid.
He didn't get it that every single aspect of having a Tesla means you have to have the right technology, not just the right story.
Does any of this make any sense to you? What, they don't have the right technology. What technology do Teslas not have? What technologies do other car companies have that Tesla doesn't have? I just found out, I didn't even know this, because you guys know I'm a critic of Lucid Motors, that Lucid's cars don't even have fucking cruise control. They don't have cruise control. They don't have Apple CarPlay. The cars that they shipped, basic features like cruise control and Apple CarPlay aren't working in those cars. Teslas are awesome. I have a Model 3 from 2018. It's awesome. Cruise control works. Self-driving works. The radio features work. The integration with the Apple phone. I have an Apple iPhone. The integration works. The car drives like a dream. It's fantastic. What the hell are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. This makes no... I've had the car for I don't know how long now. Haven't needed service yet. The car works great. You got one guy with one problem. Then you start making up shit stories. Like what is Tesla? You know, there's no substance to what this woman says at all. And yet somehow Reuters elevates her to give her all this, level of, why is Reuters tweeting this? This makes no sense. How does Reuters give this woman, who is let me show you who this woman is. This woman is a fucking nobody. Okay. I got to put my glasses on for this. Award-winning Wharton expert investor. What award did she win? Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Amazon #1 best-selling author. She wrote a book. She's chief investment officer at Kramer Capital Research. She publishes newsletters. She doesn't actually manage investments or manages anyone's money. She just talks. You can see her picture. She just talks. That's all I'm doing, right? All I do is talk, except I own a lot of Tesla stock. I own a lot of other stocks. Gracie award-winning host of Kramer's Millionaire Maker. What qualifications does this woman have? Here's her profile. Here's what chief investment officer. For 12 years, she's been chief investment officer of writing newsletters. Before that, she provided consulting services. She was a columnist. She was a commentator. She's a fucking talking head. Where's the substance? Where's anything showing that this woman has any knowledge of anything useful? Nowhere. And Reuters gives her this platform and makes her look like she has something serious to say. There was no substance to that at all. This is important because Tesla Q is not dead. Tesla Q should be dead. We should have stuck a fork in them a long time ago. But it keeps rearing its ugly head with this idea that somehow Tesla's over. Tesla sold 500,000 cars in 2020. They're going to do about 900,000 cars in 2021. And they're going to scale to 1.6 to 2 million next year. I'm calling it 2 million. I tend to be optimistic. But they're growing fast. One way or another, they're growing fast. You got 2 factories about to open. Did she mention the factories opening? Did she mention the structural pack 4680 Model Y? Did she mention Cybertruck? Cybertruck t-shirts at elonbits.com. Did she mention any of that? No. There's no substance to that at all. It didn't make any fucking sense, and Reuters gives it this platform. Ridiculous. But let's move on. Let's talk about the New York Times. So this is a New York Times headline, Inside Tesla. This is from December 6th, so it's a little late. I've been meaning to make this video for a while, and I got distracted by other things. But inside Tesla, Elon Musk pushed an unflinching vision for self-driving cars. He has pushed an unflinching vision for self-driving cars. That's true. That's not bad. We want self-driving cars. The automaker may have undermined safety in designing its Autopilot driver assistance system to fit its chief executive's vision, former employees say. Former employees say. What do crash statistics say? Right? What crash statistics say is Teslas are the safest cars on the road. Consistently, Teslas are the safest cars on the road. I drive FSD Beta. I feel safer knowing FSD Beta is taking me home when I'm tired. I still watch it, I still monitor it, but FSD Beta is the best goddamn driving software out there in the world, and it makes the road safer. And the Tesla cars themselves make the road safer. They make the people inside the car safer. They make the people outside the cars safer. They're phenomenal. This is a bullshit attack by Neal Boudette. I went after Neal on Twitter before. This is a ridiculous bullshit attack on Tesla that has no substance whatsoever, but we're going to go through this bit by bit. So he says Elon Musk built his electric car company around the promise that it represented the future of driving. Much of that promise was centered on autopilot. Okay, so when Tesla started, It was not about autopilot. Tesla started about electric cars, and along the way, Elon figured out, hey, we can make them drive themselves. It wasn't the original mission of the company. So, yes, autopilot has become a big thing, especially since 2019. A system of features that could steer, brake, and accelerate the company's sleek electric vehicles on highways. Yes, mine does that. Mine. I went to an appointment today. I met with an attorney for my pod car, which is starting to set up the pod car LLC and setting up a trust for myself to handle how the investments go. The car drove 95+% of the way there, drove 95+% of the way home. I'm not saying I agreed with every decision it made. It made some decisions I wouldn't have made, but overall, the car drove great. The car drives great. It steers, it brakes, it accelerates, it makes lane changes, it navigates better than me. It already navigates better than me. Period. I think I'm a very good driver. I genuinely believe I'm a very good driver. I genuinely believe I have a really good sense of direction. I read maps well. I'm pretty good at this stuff. And I still feel today already that Tesla's full self-driving with the nav navigates, it does a better job of choosing which exit to take, which ramp to take, which lane to be in. Overall, when you're talking about navigation, not just driving down the road, sometimes it makes lane change choices I don't agree with. Sometimes it makes a lane change choice I don't agree with, and then that lane suddenly moves faster, and I'm wondering, did it predict that, or was it just lucky? I don't know. But in terms of nav, it's already better. So over and over, Mr. Musk declared that truly autonomous driving was nearly at hand, a day when a Tesla could drive itself, and the capability would be whisked to drivers over the air and software updates. It's already here. Okay, the cars can drive themselves. They're not that good at it yet, but they can drive themselves. They're pretty damn good. They might be better than some of the worst drivers on the road. I've seen some pretty bad human drivers. Whenever people criticize Tesla self-driving, they never talk about how bad human drivers are. There's some pretty crappy human drivers out there, but let's move on. What else is in this article? Unlike technologists at almost every other company working on self-driving vehicles, Elon Musk insisted that autonomy could be achieved solely with cameras tracking their surroundings. Okay, so that's a relatively new thing. That's only in the last year or so. They were relying on radar before. But this thing, unlike technologists at almost every other company, unlike technologists at almost every other rocket company said that you couldn't affordably or effectively land orbital rocket boosters. Right? Yeah, Mr. Musk doesn't always go along with the mainstream. He comes up with his own approach. And sometimes he's right. In fact, he's usually right, and the technologists at every other company are usually wrong when Elon says they're wrong. But many Tesla engineers question whether it was safe enough to rely on cameras without the benefit of other sensing devices. Look, they covered this at AI Day. It's not just Elon. Andrej Karpathy, Ganesh, the Autopilot team, they're all on the same page. Radar ends up confusing the system. Radar is a low quality signal of what's on the road in front. Cameras work great. We drive with 2 cameras. Teslas drive with 8. We drive with 2. We drive with 2 cameras that always look in the same direction. Teslas drive with 8 cameras that have 360-degree vision, 24/7, 60 frames a second. If we can drive with vision, then why can't the cars drive with vision? Why? We don't use radar to drive. Why do the cars need radar to drive? And whether Mr. Musk was promising drivers too much about autopilot's capabilities. Look, has it gotten there as fast as Elon hoped? No. Do we all know that Elon sometimes operates on Elon time? Yes. But nothing unsafe happened. And, Elon pushes. This is how we get there. Watch the Gwynne Shotwell interview. I just watched this again, the Gwynne Shotwell TED Talk interview, where she talked about how Elon pushes to where everybody's uncomfortable, and then Gwynne tries to manage SpaceX back to where they're comfortable. And it ends up this balance where they're just on the edge of being comfortable, but they're still pushing. Elon gets people to push to do more. This is not a bad thing. This is a good thing. So now these questions are at the heart of an investigation. Oh no, an investigation by the NHTSA after at least 12 accidents in which Teslas using autopilot drove into parked fire trucks, blah, blah, blah. Wait a minute. We don't know whether autopilot was active when these incidents happened. We don't know that. It is a common thing. We've seen this again and again, that somebody says autopilot was driving, FSD was driving, and then when the investigation concludes, it turns out that the person was driving and they blamed autopilot. We don't know the details here. Families are suing Tesla over fatal crashes. Yeah, okay. Customers are suing. First of all, I don't know anything about these lawsuits. They made 500,000 cars last year, 900,000 cars this year. General Motors gets sued. Ford gets sued. Volkswagen gets sued. Toyota gets sued. The fact that there's some lawsuits is not particularly meaningful. As the guiding force behind Autopilot, Mr. Musk pushed it in directions other automakers were unwilling to take this kind of technology. Yeah, just like he pushed rockets to land. Right? He takes an aggressive approach that other companies won't do. Oh, interviews with 19 people who worked over the project over the last decade show Mr. Musk repeatedly misled buyers about the service's abilities. Many of those people say all spoke on condition of anonymity, fearing retaliation from Mr. Musk and Tesla. What are you afraid of? I've been trashing Lucid Motors for more than a year. Why aren't I afraid of retaliation from Mr. Rawlinson and Lucid and the Saudis? I'm expecting an invitation to a Saudi consulate. You know, like the journalist Khashoggi got an invite to a Saudi consulate. That's what I'm expecting. I'm not afraid of it. Why are they afraid of it? What? 19 people and they all want anonymity? Every single one, not a single one of them was willing to put their name behind their criticism? And you call this legit? Why are they afraid? What are they afraid of? What is Elon going to do to them? How many other people? There's been people who publicly criticized Elon and Tesla before. Where are the bodies? This is total BS. All right, let's go ahead. Tension between safety and Mr. Musk's desire to market cars as technological marvels. They're safe. They're fucking safe. Okay? They're the safest cars on the road. Period. NHTSA data shows it. IIHS data shows it. All the crash data, everything shows it. They crash less. They survive crashes better than the safest cars on the road. What are you talking about? Now, look, it's true that Elon has said that he thought the cars were really close to autonomy, to level 5 autonomy, as far back as 2016. It turned out it was harder than what he thought. The Tesla team thought they were close, and it turned out it was harder than they thought. Okay. But they're still working on it. It's still getting better. More recently, he said that new software, currently part of a beta test by a limited number of Tesla owners, I am a beta tester, will allow cars to drive themselves on city streets as well as highways. And this is true. My car drives itself everywhere. Everywhere. I have used it on dirt roads. It will drive anywhere. There may be some exceptions, but I'm having trouble finding them. It will drive itself pretty much anywhere. This is true. He said it, and it's true. And you have to keep your hands on the wheel. You don't really have to keep your hands on the wheel. You have to be ready to put your hands on the wheel. I generally do keep my hands on the wheel, but there are times I take my hands off the wheel and the car continues to drive. And it prompts you, and you have to be ready to put your hands on the wheel when it tells you to, or do other things to show that you're still in control of the vehicle. Regulators have warned that Tesla and Mr. Musk have exaggerated the sophistication of Autopilot, encouraging some people to misuse it. What do you mean encouraging some people to misuse it? What are you talking about? They consistently say, keep your hand. They just said this on the previous thing. As with Autopilot, Tesla documentation says drivers must keep their hands on the wheel, ready to take control of the car at any time. So where is this encouraging some people to misuse it? And look, I'm going to tell you right now, you cannot let the car drive itself without paying attention, because it makes mistakes. Anybody who says, oh, I'd let the car drive me for 20 miles without, while sitting in the back seat, no way. It's not that good. I think it's a great thing. I think they're making a lot of progress, but you have to pay attention. It's not that good. Anytime you see a story that somebody let the car drive them, they sat in the back seat for a half an hour, it's a lie. You can't, no one who has ever driven this thing would trust it enough to do that. It's a stunt, it's a lie, it's a fraud. Anytime they show you some guy sleeping in the car, it's a fake. It's all that stuff is fake. Has there been autopilot accidents? Probably, yeah, especially when you go back a few years. But as far as I understand it, the FSD beta test, which is now around 3,000 or 4,000 drivers, if not more, has not had a crash yet in over a year. Seems pretty good to me. Let's move on. So here's the chairwoman of the NTSB. Says, where I get concerned is the language that's used to describe the capabilities of the vehicle. Has investigated accidents involving Autopilot and criticized the system's design. It can be very dangerous. Human drivers can be very dangerous. Question isn't whether it can be very dangerous. Of course it can be dangerous. It's not perfect. I'm going to tell you that right now. Is it more dangerous than human drivers? Is it significantly more dangerous than human drivers? Is it more dangerous than the worst human drivers? I think it's more dangerous than me, except when I'm navigating poorly. I think on average, I'm a better driver than FSD, but I'm not the worst driver on the road. There's some really crappy drivers on the road. I'm a traffic lawyer. I've represented some pretty bad drivers. Okay? It's probably already better than some of the worst drivers. Some who have long worked on autonomous vehicles for other companies have questioned Tesla's practice of constant modifications to Autopilot and FSD pushed out to drivers through software updates, saying it can be hazardous because buyers are never quite sure what the system can and cannot do. Okay, the practice of constant modifications mean it's improving quicker. Do you want it to improve or not? Do you want it to improve fast? Or do you want it to improve slow? Ultimately, self-driving cars are going to save a shit ton of lives, 1 million lives a year. The longer you wait, the more people die. Seriously, if you hold back the development of self-driving cars by a year, 1 million people die who would not have died if you allow self-driving to develop as quickly as possible. The sooner it's done, the sooner we start rolling out self-driving cars around the world, the sooner we finish rolling out self-driving cars around the world. So the idea that you want to slow this down, the more you slow it down, the more people die. Almost no one dies from Autopilot or FSD. Has there been a crash? Sure. Have there been a couple crashes? Yeah. But there's lots of human driver crashes. Nobody ever bothers to compare it to human driver crashes. And then they bring up this hardware choice. Within Tesla, some argued for pairing cameras with radar and other sensors that work better in heavy rain and snow. No, actually, radar works worse in the rain. There are conditions where the radar gets confused. They talked about this. They cover this. Karpathy talked about this. Andrei Karpathy, who's one of the heads of the Autopilot team, they talked about this. They figured out that on balance, the vision system alone was better than incorporating radar. That they ended up confusing the system, and it works better without it. And I'm driving a car that's using vision only, and it's fantastic, and it's getting better. Every update, it gets better. All of a sudden, it's doing speed bumps. It's handling speed bumps well. It didn't used to handle speed bumps well. It keeps getting better. It keeps getting better. That constant updating, constant modification, that's good. That makes it better. If you don't constantly modify it, how is it supposed to get better? When are you supposed to do updates? It's ridiculous. It's right here. Mr. Musk repeatedly told members of the Autopilot team that humans could drive with only 2 eyes, and this meant cars should be able to drive with cameras alone. Yeah, that's the point. Returning to first principles. Yes. They stopped putting radar on the cars. They tested the safety implications of not using radar. He said that the company had tested the safety implications of not using radar, but provided no details. They did provide details. They showed it in AI Day. They showed that the radar gives confusing signals. That in some circumstances, the radar gives confusing signals. The vision system is more consistent. They did cover this on AI Day. I watched it more than once. Apparently, Neal Boudette didn't bother watching. If you ever get a chance to talk to one of these journalists who trashes Tesla, just ask him, what did you think of AI Day? What was the best part of the presentation? What part did you have the most trouble under? Ask them substantive questions about AI Day. They won't be able to answer them because they didn't fucking watch it. Autopilot team continued to develop the system using radar. This is true, and even planned to expand the number of radar sent, and they explored LiDAR. They used LiDAR to test how well... Karpathy talked about this more than a year ago, that they developed something called pseudo LiDAR, that they were able to use cameras to approximate what the results of LiDAR would be, and it was basically just as good, so there's no need to use LiDAR. They covered this. If you follow this stuff, if you listen to Karpathy, if you listen to Elon, if you listen to AI Day and Autonomy Day, they've covered this. They've explained this stuff. Musk insisted a 2 eyes metaphor was the way forward, questioned whether radar was ultimately worth the headache. According to 4 people who worked on it, he was right. It's better without radar. Over time, the company team moved closer to his way of thinking, placing more emphasis on camera technology. Other companies developing driver assistance and fully autonomous cars thought cameras were not enough. Google, for example, outfitted its self-driving test cars with expensive LiDAR devices as big as buckets mounted on the roof. Yeah, they're not scaling. Tesla has over 1 million cars on the road with their system. Maybe it's 2 million now. What does Google have? A few hundred? Does anybody have any significant volume? And I rode in a Waymo car. They're ugly and they suck. Check my channel. I have a video where we rode in a Waymo in Arizona. It sucked. Tesla's way better. Tesla FSD is way better than Waymo. Not even close. Other companies developing blah, blah, blah. Have other companies developed orbital rocket boosters that can land themselves? No. Shut the hell up. Stop telling me other companies are doing it this way. They should be doing it the way other companies are doing it. Elon doesn't do things the way other companies do things. He does things the way they should be done. And sometimes he gets it wrong, but he keeps trying. Cameras were cheap and small. Yeah, LiDAR's really expensive. LiDAR's really ugly. It doesn't make sense to use LiDAR. According to 3 people who worked on the project, some engineers backed Mr. Musk's cameras-only approach, arguing radar was not always accurate and it was difficult to reconcile radar data with information from cameras. This is what I said earlier, right? It creates confusion for the system. Autonomous driving experts said Mr. Musk's cameras as eyes analogy was deeply flawed, as did 8 former Autopilot engineers. You know why they're former Autopilot engineers? Because they didn't get it. They didn't get it. It is better. The cameras as eyes analogy is correct. They haven't debunked it in any way. They say it's deeply flawed. How is it flawed? Do humans drive with their eyes only? Do humans use radar or LiDAR? No. So how is this flawed? This is total nonsense. Okay, some former Autopilot engineers didn't like it and they left the company. Good. Goodbye. Autonomous driving experts. You know where the autonomous driving experts are? They're in Tesla. They're working for Tesla, getting autonomous driving working. Okay, some idiot at a university who gets appointed to the NTSB, Missy Cummings, doesn't make her really an expert on autonomous driving. Sorry. Listen to the experts. Elon, Andre, Karpathy, Ganesh, Ashok, the Tesla Autopilot team, they're the real experts on autonomous driving. They have delivered the best self-driving car in the history of the world, and it's only getting better, and it's getting better fast. The idea that there's some other experts out there who know better, what have they done to deserve the prestige of expert supposedly better than the people working at Tesla now? Nothing. Aesthetics also influenced decisions about radar. I don't know about that. Tesla began installing radar in Model S sedans, did not like the way the radar looked inside an open hole, told it blah, 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 okay. And this is going back to, you're going back to 2014? Really? We're in 2021. Why are we talking about 2014? This is dumb. This is just dumb. And customers complain that the radar stopped working. The customers don't know whether the radar is working or not. They don't get a radar readout. They know whether the car is working. Look at this. They're back in 2014 and 2015 talking about what happened then. Why don't we talk about what's going on now? Why are we going back to 2015? Met with a group of engineering managers. One manager told Musk he wanted to include a computer chip and other hardware that could monitor the physical components of Autopilot and provide backup parts of the system. But Mr. Musk slapped down the idea, said it would slow the progress of the project as Tesla worked to build a system that could drive cars by themselves. And yes, Elon was optimistic they would drive themselves in about 2 years, and he got it wrong. Look, Elon gets aggressive and optimistic at times. So what? So what? They shot for the stars, and they fell short, and they only reached the moon. And they're still working on it, and they're still going to get to the stars. Other companies like Google, Toyota, and Nissan exploring autonomous driving were not nearly as optimistic in their public statements. That's because they suck. They have no hope of getting to self-driving cars. Are Toyota and Nissan even doing autonomous driving? What are you talking about? Where's the Toyota? Look, that was 2015. We're in 2021. Where are Toyota and Nissan self-driving projects? Where's their autonomous driving projects? Why haven't we seen any of that? Google has a few cars driving in Arizona and San Francisco, and they suck. Tesla's got over 1 million cars on the road with this software, and it's working. So there was a crash, and after there was genuinely a crash. This was near me in Florida. There was a crash where a Tesla self-driving car, it was the car's fault, hit a truck crossing the road. It wasn't perfect. It made a mistake. And Tesla acknowledged that loss. They acknowledged that it made a mistake. And Elon believed at the time that autonomous driving was basically a solved problem. Look, he got ahead of the game. He thought it was going to resolve quickly. He said since we hit a local maximum. That's a math thing. Not everyone understands it, but they thought they were on a path to success, and then they realized, wait, we've got to rethink this. They went back and tried radar a different way. So what? They tried different things to see what they could get to work. Look, the fact that Tesla kept trying different things to see what would work is a good thing. And, back when this accident happened in 2015, that wasn't a vision-only time. They were using radar then. They weren't on a vision-only system then. So this doesn't make any sense. This is Neal Boudette showing he doesn't really understand what he's talking about. So then Tesla went to Autopilot 2.0. They dropped their normal duties, work on a video showing how autonomous the system could be. But the final video did not provide a full picture of how the car operated during the filming. Duh? Does anybody do a video like that and show everything that happened? Was it perfect? No. Did the car make mistakes? Sure, but they're promoting the thing. Okay, look, it wasn't perfect then. It's not perfect now. It's been getting better. It's been getting better. It's been getting better. And we're still back in 2016. This guy can't let go of 5 to 7 years ago. Why are you dwelling on 5 to 7 years ago? Why aren't we talking about what FSD Beta is doing now? Why is the New York Times so focused on the past instead of addressing the future? Some felt Mr. Musk was promising something that was not possible. Sterling Anderson led the project time and later started an autonomous driving company called Aurora, told Tesla's sales and marketing team they should not refer to the company's technology as autonomous or self-driving because this would mislead the public, according to two former employees. Okay, so Sterling Anderson started an autonomous driving company called Aurora, which none of us have ever heard of. Where's this company? Tesla was soon using the term full self-driving as a standard way of driving its technology. Tesla has been clear that they've got the hardware for full self-driving in place, and they're developing the software to make it work, and the software isn't there yet. They're consistently clear about that. It's not there yet. It still needs work. You still need to pay attention. It has the hardware. It doesn't have the software yet. Tesla began selling a set of services the company has described as a more advanced version of Autopilot, calling the package full self-driving. Features include responding to traffic lights and stop signs and changing lanes without being prompted to by the driver. The company sold the package for up to $10,000. This is all true. My car responds to traffic lights. My car responds to stop signs. My car changes lanes without being prompted by me. My car does all of that. This is all true. This is all real. It already does all of that. FSD Beta does all of that and more. Engineers who have worked on the technology acknowledge these services have yet to reach the full autonomy implied in its name and promised by Mr. Musk in public statements. I'm highly confident the car will drive itself for the reliability in excess of a human this year, he said during an earnings call in January 2021. It's a very big deal. It's December 2021. We're still in that year. It is extremely good. Elon makes predictions about the future, and he's aggressive on his timelines. We've all known that. This is not new. This is not new. I would say that the car drives more reliably than some humans already. I would say the car already navigates better than most humans. The car does a lot of stuff really well. Is it perfect yet? No. But it's really making progress. It's really getting good. If it's a little slower than Elon thought, no big deal. This is not new. We've all known that Elon has aggressive timelines. He operates on Elon time. We've got the Cybertruck shirt now, but the Elon time shirt is on elonbits.com as well. Then in early November, Tesla recalled nearly 12,000 vehicles after deploying a software update. There was no recall. Recall is a term that doesn't really make sense in this context. They just downloaded a software update. The 12,000 cars that had FSD Beta at the time got an update, and they called it a recall. They figured out that there was something a little bit wrong in the system, and they sent down a fix. And look, everybody who has FSD Beta knows it makes mistakes sometimes. You have to watch it. You have to pay attention. You never know. And Elon has said this. It can do the worst thing at the worst time. You have to pay attention. You have to be ready. Somehow that quote from Elon is missing from this article. Elon has acknowledged it's not perfect. You have to pay attention. Somehow Neal Boudette, the New York Times, missed that quote that Elon has said multiple times that Tesla has said. It can do the worst thing at the worst time. You have to pay attention. So some other supposed expert who oversaw a team that explored autonomous driving possibilities at Samsung said in an interview that the Musk's cameras-only approach was fundamentally flawed. Tell me about Samsung's self-driving success. Who is this guy, a computer vision specialist who now runs a startup that's building a new kind of camera-based sensor? Cameras are not eyes, pixels are not retinal. Who is this guy? Why does anybody think he knows what he's talking about? Why is he more qualified than the Tesla Autopilot team? The Tesla Autopilot team has delivered a very impressive self-driving hardware and software package that works really, really well. And I'm telling you right now, I drive it every day, except for days when I don't drive. Whenever I drive FSD Beta almost all the time, unless I'm in a hurry because it's kind of slow. It's not aggressive like I am. But it drives spectacularly well compared to what anybody would expect. I've taken people for rides in this thing. They can't believe how good it is. During Halloween, I drove through a residential neighborhood with a couple of friends who had never experienced it before. It's driving down the road. There's kids walking. There's adults walking. There's people everywhere. It navigated stellar. It was phenomenal. It was brilliant. It kept going. It was careful about the pedestrians, and it managed to get through that neighborhood with no problem. And you could see on the screen that it's recognizing all these pedestrians everywhere. Absolutely brilliant. I'll give them credit here. They've got the chief executive of Mobileye, which is arguably a competitor in self-driving. It's pretty much the only company here they've mentioned that's actually making any progress at all towards self-driving. They're way behind Tesla, but they're making some progress. And he said, yes, Mr. Musk might exaggerate the capabilities of the technology, but that those statements shouldn't be taken too seriously. That's what we all know. We all know that if we're Tesla fans, if we're Elon Musk fans, we know he says stuff, that he sets aggressive timelines, and we all know it's probably not going to happen as quick as he says, but it's going to happen. Great progress. He said Mr. Musk's idea of using only cameras and a self-driving system could ultimately work, although other sensors may be needed in the short term. No, they're not. I'm driving camera only right now. It's phenomenal. It's spectacular. It's getting there. It's just a question of improving. There's a lot of improvements that need to happen. Just really quick, because I wanted to include this, Kim Paquette, who I'm a huge fan of, made this comment up here. There are an average 35,000 traffic deaths on U.S. roads each year. I think we may have hit 40,000, by the way. According to the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, 94% are due to human error. According to the mainstream media, 94% are due to Elon Musk and Tesla. If you follow the mainstream media, if you follow Reuters and New York Times, you would think that Teslas are crashing everywhere all the time. It's not true. Elon replied, Tesla publishes accident statistics quarterly. They are so much better than other vehicles, it is ridiculous. Anybody can Google Tesla Vehicle Safety Report, go to Tesla.com, read their Vehicle Safety Report. Teslas in general crash less than other cars. Teslas on autopilot crash less than other cars, than Tesla cars that aren't on autopilot. And Teslas on FSD crash even less. They crash very rarely, and when they crash, they're the safest cars on the road to protect the occupants in a crash. It's ridiculous for the media to constantly attack Tesla on safety. And you notice, going back to the article, going back to the New York Times article, if you notice, they really didn't talk about the current state of FSD beta. They avoided it. They went back to 2014, 2015, 2016. They really desperately avoided addressing the fact that it's working phenomenally well right now. Not perfect. It's still improving. Either they don't know, or they're hiding, or they know it. And there's two choices. Either they're morons and they don't know, or they know and they're liars. I don't know which one's worse. Take your pick. I'd say they're morons and liars, because it's so obvious that they're full of crap. And anybody looking at this can see it if you're paying any attention at all. And it's just another further hit on the credibility of the mainstream media. Reuters and New York Times are like premier outlets for the mainstream media. They're the top of the mainstream media, and they're full of crap. They've just demonstrated yet again that they're full of crap, that they cannot be trusted. Short answer, Tesla FSD is great. It's getting better. It's not that far away from being able to drive itself without human supervision. I think it's going to be by the end of 2022. We're going to see robo-taxis operating somewhere, probably the Bay Area, California. When Dojo comes online, it's going to improve faster and faster. Great stuff. So please check out my other videos. Check out the t-shirts at elonbits.com. This is a very popular shirt, Cybertruck. Thank you to the Vasa Law Firm in Sweden, all my Patreon supporters, for helping this channel grow. Please support this channel on Patreon, on Locals, or as a YouTube channel member. Links to all of that in the description below. And thank you so much for watching.